Guru Rana Mendala Kaniya Daya Sanje Chetan Soje Chana La Chanju Badu Dani Denju Nani Dola Namje Sanje Duvasho Sanje Chetan Soje Chana La Chanju Badu Dani Davi Chijinji Sonanje Andola Benji
Sanje Juvarasho
Sanje Chetan Soje
Chanam La Chanju Bado Dani Kesuche Davi Chinen Dibe Sonam Jola Penje Sanje
Juvarasho Ladang Lame Midam Yonji Bodang Jejina Zuchi Jela Chava Chava Nama Sanje Sampara Shishi Jirijo 대다시 되면 이제 시제가 제진들 이제 소외들이 좀 저거들 저들 좀 거의 뒤에 라변이 이제 사자소서임에서 안 비달라는 받달라 두개 순이지는 뭐 하여 그다는 다는 거 두고도 담네 거는 저와 군지 전원 지선 뭐 탐제가도 다기 제된도서 올라서다 가서래 원도제 가서 차바공복 주단 된바 남다니 산제라서 군조숨 제마다 요송야 이 말이 자 단티게 가르송을 세리가나 가수래 원도제게 가서 토마데라 안에 가르시고 그래서나 남바탐이 팀이 시시하고 그래 자 남바탐이 팀이 시시하고 와데 가르래서나 안에 누자 대우라
So as stated by Maitreya in the Ornament of Clear Realizations, that what is to be accomplished, what is to be, what one needs to accomplish and be endowed with, is with the rare and sublime three. The rare and sublime three, refuge, that is to be accomplished. That is what one should be endowed with. So what this refers to is, when in the presentations, when the presentation begins with the gnosis of the Buddha, the transcendent wisdom, omniscient mind of the Buddha. Why this is presented first, why this is taught first to the disciples, is so that by speaking about what a wonderful result this is, that the disciples may be inspired to attain it.
Oh, that is an tender and in Namjindi, somebody can get there. And it's a good church, 최주생이 당에 잠깐 가자기면 좋아 인간 담보들라 그래서나 심지 세대 나는 뭐 한다고 저게 자주도 아니 톱자 남자인데 누구이나 아니 톱자 남자인데 톱이 시도 아니 되게 아니 심기고 와 인장 아니 심지 담보 시작을 하래.
So, to illustrate this omniscient mind, this enlightened mind, then you have these 10 presentations to illustrate it, and to attain it, you first need to have the altruistic mind of bodhicitta to attain this unsurpassable and perfect state of enlightenment. And so, this altruistic mind then has these two aspirations.
이제 달라나면 봐야한다 남진기 연대한 통에 아니 남지 톰대기 대니기 dim바뭐 쪼와께네 다 남지 저배 자주 타반 대발라 통마라나 봐야한다 봐 저배 자주기 아니 톰대기 셈디 마자니 아니 셈디 제만 많이 봐라 좀에 그냥 와 템바드나 아니 셈디 제바 저배 자주도 셈 제바 자주기 셈 타바 세디 다도 생각해.
So beginning with the initial wish to attain the perfect and complete state of enlightenment, and when this wish to attain has been cultivated to a degree when it is effortless, when this wish to attain enlightenment for the benefit of sentient beings becomes effortless or uncontrived, then that is when one has generated bodhicitta.
Then, Semke Batamji Majoba, that turned to Neja, Tojalanam Beanda, Chanju Day, and it's the Batamji Majoba, and it tell Tobichi the Tala Bergova Yinzang, and it tapped the Gomba Chebala, and it tapped the Shirgove. Shirgova Yinzang, and it is in Yangova Yinzang, and it seems to get Jesus Dama said it to Shirgove.
So it isn't sufficient just to have this uncontrived wish to attain enlightenment. One has to, undertake the methods to actualize that enlightenment. So one has to meditate on the methods by which one can actualize that enlightenment. And so, in order to be able to undertake the methods or undertake the meditation practices, one must have the understanding of it. To cultivate any sort of understanding, then one must first be able to hear or listen to these teachings. And so therefore then following, generating the mind of enlightenment, following that, the second point is receiving the instructions.
Ane dangwa tela taji shiwa na shi cheni Koran la kaisa ewa doji ena dangwa jushi arde ta zo chiwa de la ta kaisa kang drupa sanje drupchi ki drupa rangi ngo drupa teki miyu tenpa shi ane kunjo sum oda tuzu maa she Juba Rango say Gala Juba Yamso Lemba T Senayang. Ani Kunzo Tanta Betambala Mendava say Gala Tanya to Juba Yamso Lemba Yeva. Tanya to Juba Yamso Lamso Yanayang turned about Juba Yamso Lemba Meba. Turned about Juba Yamso Lemba Mebe Memugoba. Tanya to Yebe, Juba Yamso Lemba Yobe, turned on to Yemugova. Oda Karesana, Kunzo the Tentabi Dembala Mendava Tubanyasilem, but it's all so I'm very.
So, and the instructions are presented as these 10 instructions. First, the nature of the practitioner, the objectives of the practitioner, which is the Four Noble Truths, and the basis of the rare and sublime three. So, when explaining the nature of the practitioner, then the practitioner not removed from the reality of the true truths, not removed from the reality of the conventional truth, and the ultimate truth. Even though it is even though it may be conventionally tanya do yena can cancel tanya do yena
tanya do yebe
tenda ba yemo
tendam do yemo
so
yebe tendam do yemo ba tendam do mena yang meme ba da kasa de sana
even though in relation to the two truths, even though it is conventionally existent, it does not have to be, ultimately existent. And even if it is not ultimately existent, it doesn't need to be non-existent. So, not removed from the reality of these two truths, not falling into the extremes of these two truths.
Oh. That in that issue, Marcha, tenderly Juba Tella and Juba Yamso Leni, Chanju Semjini, Juba Yamso Leni, Tene, Solam Net, Solam Top, Solam Ginegala, Anikasore, Kodu, Juba Tella, Kodu, Sotu, Najun Juba Si, I'm married.
Juba
Tella, Kodu, Jutu, Sotu, Najun Juba Si.
So to Ninjuba.
Ninjuba.
Group the candidates of Kuala Kotu. the nature of the practice, the nature of the practice usually are of five. Are said to be of five kinds. The practice or accomplishing the understanding, accomplishing the engagement of it, accomplishing the accumulation of it, and accomplishing the definite emergence or renunciation. Tanda sunumashiti. Tanda sunumati kodugi. Chik lavya lavdela di tanda tata demi.
Tadi kande sana. Tangara de jichu chile shagu wa yinzang. Ta tamga nyamso lambala den semje maji bi ngaro do. Lana bayang da ba zobe chanju de sem maji bi ngaro do. 아니 코바다다 동아지 랑신도 신에 냥데 톰데 그때바데 ngala 제고와 인장 어디 대행은 먼저 성사래
So here in explaining the activities of the Transcendental Wisdom Dhammakaya, then we say that prior to generating the altruistic mind of bodhicitta, one first must have the understanding of the suffering nature of samsaric existence. On the basis of that understanding, then having the thought which is intent on attaining liberation.
아니 나선 동안 녀와 시위니시 녀와 시와당 커야 동안 녀와 시위니시라 거바데 먼저 son이 대대는 아니 군저 chan주그 셈제 제니 chan주그 셈제 봐다 chan주그 셈제니 아니 다 제바다 초람 터바 튀냠 인장 아니 가소래 초람 터바 튀인자 대내 가서 아니 고급 생각이 지거려 고급스나 아니 지소 파지 레리 나도 아니 파지 두가 되는 양수 렘베 아니 가소래 잔주sem밖에 안 좋지라 고듭스거래
So migrated beings on the basis of pacifying the suffering of the lower realms, on the basis of the pacification of the suffering of the samsaric existence, having accomplished these, then generating the conventional bodhicitta, which is simultaneous with the attainment of the path of the minor path of accumulation. Minor path of accumulation, generating that initial conventional bodhicitta. So on this path, when one is able to engage in the practices of the sixth perfection, and within the scope of one perfection, then being able to incorporate the features of all of the remaining six. So while practicing one particular perfection, say the perfection of generosity, within that being able to subsume all of the six perfections within that is the accomplishment of the understanding.
상승의 진바다 최지 진바 미지비 잡지 진바 가르 증기에나야 아니 대 진바 거란 거 어체 아니 진바지 진비 내가수 팀에 이식이 300 마고 봐. 대 아니 진비 추dim체 와 진비 추dim체 팀에 이식이 300 뽕야 돼. 팀에 이식이 300 뽕하당 아니 대 지유되라 아니 마고 봐라 써봐. 아니 가서래 최소 그 삼바라 써와 대답 보내야 되라 아니 진배 추dim체.
So for example, when undertaking the practice of the perfection of generosity, whether it is the generosity of giving dharma or material things, or generosity of granting refuge of fearlessness, protecting from fear, or the generosity of love. These four types of giving is the nature of the act of generosity. Then, when undertaking any of these four given acts of generosity, then doing it so free of the thought of self-interest, free of the thought of the self-interest, referring to the inner motivation of one's own individual liberation, that kind of self-interest. So that is the ethics associated with that act of generosity. Also, when one undertakes that act of generosity, doing it so without any sort of disrespect towards whom that act of generosity is undertaken, without a disregard, without disparaging, without disrespect. Undertaking that act of generosity is the ethics associated with that generosity.
Oh, that is into any chimba so any Tadana Sawaki, Tunga Tandu Lambada, Shenji Minyamba Jabala Sawaki, and the Tunga Chimba, Tandu Lambadella, Chimbi Saba Imbadi.
And so, and then again, when undertaking the act of generosity, then if there are some sort of physical difficulties of the heat and cold, or criticism for your act of negative criticism for your act of generosity and so forth, in such kinds of negative forms of experiences, then having the tolerance, having the patience, is the perfection of patience associated with that generosity.
What is into that Jimba Tawam and Jimba La stood and Drawati, Jongangela Draw, Segala, Jimbi Tundiche. And
then, your joy in undertaking this act of generosity, any of those four given acts of generosity, is the perfection of enthusiasm.
That's it. Jimba Jimbinera to Sim Shantum Mimba. And it's Jidan Chedan, Tamaji Nanshan Takazati, Time Yiki Sambala Sore, Yambadi, Rani Chibook to Tendeki Samba, Semba Yambadi Jimbi in the chair.
So, and then when undertaking the act of that generosity, not being distracted by outwardly concern, grasping at ordinary appearance, not being distracted by self-interest, are the concentration in association with that act of generosity.
For the Jimba Bota, Jimba Tang, Jiu. Jimbi was a member of the sheriff, Simbi, and Jimbatella, Jimbi sheriff, Jenny. I do Jimba Jimbicala, and then patching to them to Nasolina.
And when one reflects on the emptiness of the act of generosity, emptiness of the recipient of that generosity, and the emptiness of the agent of that generosity. Reflecting on the emptiness of these three spheres is the practice of the perfection of wisdom in association with this act of generosity. So in this way, then being able to incorporate the features of the entire six perfections while practicing one particular perfection is the accomplishment of the understanding.
Oh, that tended Senegal, that Solamne, Sunene, Kodu Tomio, Kodu Bacone, Contopedi, Danga Tigi, any Casade, Danga Jimbala Dene, Danga Yambala Dene, and it's a Tarimba, Hindu, Solamla Goba, Solam Chinisuna Goba Tusi, and no Kodula Goba, Kodu Yamsa Lembalene, and ya, and the castle, Tony Jachimbi, Simbi, and Young Castle, Sonum Soda, you see Jachumbi, and it's sort of Tobe, Jolonga Negato, sort of Tobe, and it's sort of like Tene Castle, Judu, Siadi, Tibachimbi, Jundaji, Chiriba, Joatindi, Tor, Chiricone, Yamsulange. They and the Judu singer the Jolam top. And Jolam that Madasa to Nagala, combat at top. Then I need you.
So, So in this way, by receiving these instructions, then gradually being able to enhance along the path of the accomplishment through gradual development in the accomplishment of such understanding, and in this way then progressing along the small, middling, and great great path of accumulation. Then through such engagements, then being able to accomplish the accumulation of these two vast forms of merit of wisdom and merit of virtue, which is the accomplishment of accumulations, and on the basis of those accomplishment of accumulations, these accomplishment of accumulations, then being when one attains the path of preparation, then you have the accomplishment of engagement in, and so jukruti khwasuma
jukruti senga ba chebe gyudan debe cheshiri ba ane jo zunju zoru chui zunju zoru ko na nyamsu lemba ki ane chanju samba ki na jo jila
so the accomplishment through engagement is refers to all of the bodhisattva's practices of causes and effects, that are engaged by application of effort, through the exertion of effort. So this is the accomplishment of engagements.
dine taba sasung nega su
mata satsum de khadine
mata sadu nega su komgwe wache.
So this is practiced along the 7 impure levels. So these kind of practices of the bodhisattvas, which are referred to as accomplishment through engagement, employing exertion or effort, is undertaken along the 7 impure levels of the bodhisattva grounds. And so accomplishment of renunciation or accomplishment of definite emergence is what is accomplished on the last 3 pure levels.
And
so in this way, from the stage of pacifying the sufferings of samsaric existence up to the attainment of enlightenment, then there are these 27 activities.
Oh yeah. That ma she to kala da ta ka sang zo de subject shiwa de ba. Right? No. Then we tell she de la da. Oh, dunga de me shiwa tunji be she ba se de ba yo sam da.
So then we were at the the illustration of the cloud, the example of the cloud corresponding to pacifying the fire of suffering, that particular part. I think 279 on verse 53.
Dini dungan diju dini guaji xewa tongji ro sai ti kasan di bat chin cai da shi ba le song a ye na song a
but the reign of the doctrine which khadikatur di mangsu no machine maso
na
khadikatur zawasung yu
zawa di bat chin cai ba dini dunga diju dini goji shewe tongjiru dibadi chingcawa yu samchu.
Zawalwe.
Zawa.
Shewe tongjiru.
Di chingcawa yu samchu tam.
Do we do verse 55? And the Konderesha. The Konderesha.
이 고려 신자를 단단히 봐. 차진전 하라치고 밀라용 저 동아시아자 도비치 가상한 쉬어린 봐. 하라치고 왔다. 아니 밀라 초 지요 동아당.
디 참.
야, 대남제 산지다. 하라치고 밀라용 저 동아시아자 도비치 Sherab Damba Lami Wanju Chola, Mamba Demede. Sherab Tani Tishin Shebi Sura Tabe Jejan La. Dini Dungan Dijutene Gochi Sheva Tonjiro. Adi Anjo Shisha.
This Habre. This Habre. The
Tarwa, the Tari Chelan. That is funny, da. The Mitchell of the Dumba subject teacher. Teradana calling him Kondo Chuba, said Latini, the Latin of Koyim, that about to be Nelu Combatamba, said it.
So the next part is.
That name Tabachi Nelu Combatamba, said it.
Next verse deals with Darwe. So, in order to attain liberation, then, showing that one needs to meditate on reality and the fun nature.
That has you and I say, Jenny, to be me but the Tambashi, said you, Edicala. That is it. Some then they see them be true, Tella. And the carrier Sana Dunga Damba Mosu Dan, Tambo Dunga Tamba Dan. Tijela Jukunjun Dan Chitang. I need to do Guatanga Latin, teach to Julam Dan Chitang. Young Jukunjun to Dan, Tijela Jutunga Damba Dan. Julam Dan to Dan Latin at the Cobachis Tampa Chiquita, Sundam Mindrava Neo Embody.
So this verse has as object the accomplishment of the Four Noble Truths. So when presenting the Four Noble Truths, there is two ways to present it. First, the true suffering, then true origin, true cessation, and true path. The other way is, true cause, true origin, true suffering, then true path, true cessation. So these are the two ways you can present the Four Noble Truths.
Kunjungela Dan, Tijela Tunga Dendi Jangala, Tunde Tunjin Bachane, do teach Avala Den and do the Ongre, do Lamdon Gomala Den and do Gopatogre, Segala, Tunde Tunjin on the channel.
So when presenting origin for true cause, true origin first, and then true suffering, this follows the sequence of cause and effect. That due to true cause, then you have true result of suffering, and then due to true path, you have true cessation. So this follows the sequence of cause and effect.
Dunga Tambo song at Tijelo Kunjun song at Karishava on the Chavare Sena Nanju Villa Ani Vijangomba Topi Rimbata Timba Jek Mondo Jesu Rimbata Timba Roa Mondo Jesu Rimbata Timba Zekana Tambo Dunga Dem Dini Dunga Demba Sirikala Ani Sajani Pumpa de Dunga Jirashin to She Then Ani 가상 시원한 시전에 아니 깨지 레니 깨지 집에 안주 제입에 미다바당 대야 아니 내용이 샤완전도 지위 아니 동아와다 어떤데 차바시게 관에 당마 동아지 샤와샤와 인장 드니 동아 밥에 땜바오 제가라 당부 동아시 드니 진 제수 동아지 주 강래 중 다바지 가라 아니 줄래다 님을 저그 군주이 와세 투시 말이다 이제 엄마도 베리 받아 좀 봐.
So the reason why you have the first presentation of the Four Noble Truths, explain the result first, and then presenting the result first, and then the causes later, as how the Buddha first taught when he undertook the first turning of the wheel of Dharma. Why that sequence was followed is because is so that the practitioners may be able to have the clear understanding of the reality. In relation to these contaminated aggregates, how it is in the nature of suffering, how it is in the nature of impermanence, that from moment to moment that it goes through stage in transition stages of destruction and so forth, and then how it is totally under the control of affliction and its action karma. So in order to have this understanding of this reality, then the first, the results, true suffering, the reality of suffering was taught. Then on the basis of this understanding, then, finding out what are the causes for it. And then that is followed with the true cause or true origin.
나 동아 메데나 아니 동아지 주 군중 방고 그래 아니 군중 방고래 서다 대당 대배의 관에 샤바텔라 나 내니 세자 내지 주네 방자라 디네 도자 맨니 담바 차바다 동아주다 태고 바다 대신에 세자 방제를 바쳐시 담바 차 세니 다 중저 가와이나 장요르디 로아 네 다지 자와디 내니 세자 내지 주네 방자라.
Therefore, if one does not wish for the suffering, then one has to abandon the causes for that suffering, the true origin, the true cause of suffering. So for that, then there is a quotation, like quotation from the sutras referring to this. When one understands what the sickness is, what the particular disease is, then you abandon the causes for that particular disease. And if one wants to, recover that health, that well-being, then one must take the treatment of the medication. So like that. So, like to know what the suffering is, to know what that particular sickness or disease is, and then to abandon the causes for it.
Oh, the condition is Negi Yemi, Lever Kondo Machina Nekorango, Anekase, Neva, Yemi did it, Nasa de Navala, Duma did and Deva, Juma de Lever Kondo Machina, Ani Nasa take Jula Bonded down.
So if one does not understand the nature of one's suffering, or the shortcomings of one's suffering, if one doesn't fully comprehend this, then there is no interest to abandon the causes for it.
Oh,
so to understand suffering by understanding what are the shortcomings of this suffering.
대우 동안 메되나 내지 메되나 아니 내지 제지기 내기 주디 아니 방마 차와래.
Then finding out, what what gives rise to this suffering, finding out the causes of this suffering, and then abandoning the causes of the suffering if one does not wish for the result suffering.
다들이 내세비 대와 내대 차니 내단 차비 대와 내와 토바 차와 세디 토바 차와당 아니 방와 차 대와 토바 차와다 아니 내지 주 내대 주고바키 내지 제지그 주고바키 맨대바 차와다 세가나 다대 벨라테체니
So,
in order to
eliminate, the sickness, and in order to have the well-being and happiness of the good health, then one has to, stop the causes of this, of this disease, of this sickness, and for that, then one has to rely upon the medication or the treatment for it.
대양 련용의 지바 풍부의 련용이 왕게 아니 깨지 그 집이 아니 미다바당 근데 누가 와서야지 아니 미다진 깨지 그 련용 깨지 그 집이 안 좋지 인바 마세 아니 련용의 샤왕도 주와 미다진 련용이 샤왕도送让풍부让매바 미다진 련용의 샤왕도送인데다 누가 시과래 와
So, like this example, then our aggregates, our contaminated appropriate aggregates, is impermanent because it self-destructs from moment to moment, and it goes through this kind of destruction from moment to moment due to karma and due to afflictions, and besides it, going through destruction due to karma and afflictions, it is also totally under the control of karma and afflictions, and because it is totally under the control of karma and afflictions, it is in the nature of suffering.
차와두지 그 동안 전에 숨이 와르데 갑디 같이 주데 차와두지 그 동안 그러나 차와두지 그 동안이 안에 동안이랑 신도 따와데 안에 신도 가와 인상 치와 라데 자와이 되지 동안 뿜어도 전에 송하나 신전에 가와 인상 네 내년의 샤마지 다 동안에 다 들라 예주 제사데 들라 기호하래 와, 내년에 샤완지기도 풍부들에 이주지어라. 이주 제사데 동아들 메테벨로 제사 소어데 차와두지 그 동아티 말. 와.
So, generally speaking, when we talk about suffering, then you have these three types of suffering: the gross suffering, the suffering of change, and the suffering of pervasive conditioning. So, most importantly, it is in reference to the suffering of pervasive conditioning that we need to understand the suffering nature of our existence, and comprehending, this suffering of pervasive conditioning is a little harder. Like a child, in a child's hand, if there is a strand of hair, for that young child, it's hard to see that piece of hair in the palm of his hand, like that, to have the awareness of that. In the same manner, then, fully comprehending, suffering of pervasive conditioning is a little harder. And so the renunciation that one needs to generate is specifically in relation to the renunciation that one needs to generate is specifically in relation to this third form of suffering, the suffering of pervasive conditioning.
가사게 다게 동화데 지천이 대체 탐제를 차와 인장 지천이 시거래 인자랑다 지천이 주권에 대텐자와데 답 동화된 전부 세계 시고데 되리 미다바 동화와 동화 다음에 봤어요.
And so these aggregates these contaminated aggregates being characterized by impermanence, by being characterized by suffering is the characteristic of this aggregate. Being impermanent, being suffering is the characteristic. Is the particular characteristic of these aggregates. But for these aggregates to be empty and selfless, the selflessness of a person and its nature being empty. These characteristics, selfless and empty, these characteristics are the general characteristic of all phenomena. So being impermanent and suffering, it is the particular sort of characteristic of the aggregates itself, but it's being selfless because selflessness and its mode of being empty. Those are the general. It's not a characteristic only that of the aggregates. It's the general characteristic. Excuse me, of all phenomena. So when sort of generating the understanding of the reality of suffering or the truth of suffering, then one should understand it from the point of view of its general characteristics and from the point of view of the particular characteristic of these aggregates. So when reflecting on the shortcomings of the suffering, then reflecting upon it particularly in the context of the shortcomings of the suffering of the pervasive conditioning. So it is in relation to that type of suffering, that depth of suffering, that one needs to generate the renunciation. And so, as Benjamin Lawson Chö Gyaltsen states, saying that of the three types of suffering, being averse by the gross form of suffering, the suffering of suffering, is present even in the animals. And so, being averse by suffering of change, we are talking about suffering of change, as explained yesterday, that it refers to contaminated feelings of happiness, contaminated feeling, which is not happiness in the true sense of the word, or it's not pure happiness, but it's just a mere change of suffering that we identify as happiness. So aversion to that or renunciation of that is also present in non-Buddhists who seek to attain form and formless realms, meditative states of the form and formless realms.
동아 주당 주바에 아니 30콤나 친요 줄 세간 다오나 가를 공부를 해서나 도시지 동의지 동아 사자년이지 풍부디 아니 뭐 남들 처모라서 만나시 전에 뭔가 주비 동아다 뭔가 주비 동아 세 어떤데 삽니까 아니 동아지랑 시지 통나 30콤나 아니 친요 줄 세간 아니 이미
So as it is stated in the great Lamrim Chenmo, in the great exposition on the gradual path of enlightenment, that if the disciples, in relation to their own contaminated aggregates, then if they understand the suffering, which is established, suffering nature, which is established on the basis of these aggregates, and Drubata Drubesna, the condition.
Drubidungadang, Trubidungasi. Drubidungasena, Sajanili Pumbola, Mama Sajaleni, Taylor Tenan, Druba Inzang, Drubidungasi. Trubidungasi, Pumbun Diliambala Tene. So, in relation to the contaminated aggregates, understanding how this is the result of of afflicted causes, and how this is the cause for how this is as well as the basis or the cause of suffering. So when one understands these features in relation to one's own aggregates, how it is the result of afflicted causes, and how it is the basis for the experiences of the sufferings, then one can fully understand what are the shortcomings of these suffering aggregates. Dunga Pongade, Dunga Gambala Chama Super Dumba Nashi and Pong Miniba. Dai Dungagi do, and you can join the Gabicona, Pongo, Tone, and you can join Banja, Daimbare, you can join Banja, Dunga Judan, Sani Neji to the Banja La, Seneji to Banja in Banani, Dunga Chawaduji, Dunga you, and you can join Lada and Yamoni with the So, when one understands the shortcomings of these sufferings, then there is the wish to abandon it, and getting rid of suffering is not as simple as removing a thorn under the soles of your feet. It's not as that. It's not as simple as that. One has to abandon the causes which are true. True origin, the true cause of suffering. Basically, they are afflictions and disaction karma, which are the causes for these sufferings of pervasive conditioning. And so those are the causes that one needs to abandon. Oh yeah, 나 군중 방화 제바 본데서 통하나서 군중 방화에 가를 본거래 sana 군중 방제 그 군중 그 자와 아니 니모 그 자와야 단정 말이 봐 나 당신 말이 봐 매번 서지 그 로데 칸데 주고 와래 있잖아. 아니 참한 남들이 가수 니유수용 매반이 대봉완이 예마이 대봉완이 니마이 연den견다 예자와 대단 다소 방완이 대다 유라 마동과 인지 치수 타기 미 세가나 고디 가르sun 거래 해서나 니유수용 매반이 대봉완이 니마이 세가나 다도 쯤바 마리바 티기 당진 티기 현유수 마중와라 아니 당신帮你그 말이 스와래
So, in order to abandon the true cause of suffering, the true origin, then seeing first and foremost, seeing the capacity for such an abandonment. And in order to abandon this, then one has to abandon the afflictions. To abandon the affliction, one has to abandon the roots of these afflictions, which is the ignorance, grasping at true existence. So in order to get rid of this mind, which is this ignorance, then as what is stated in Pramanavartika is that that until one is able to get rid of or destroy the object, that which is the object of the until one can get rid of or destroy the object of the ignorance, grasping at true existence, then until then, unless one can get rid of that object, then one cannot get rid of that mind. The apprehending mind of ignorance, grasping at true existence, and its apprehended object, the truly existent object. Until one can get rid of this truly existent apprehended object, then it's independence upon that. Independence on getting rid of that object, then one can get rid of that mind.
Oh, these are that 당진 태기 현유면 바 동계 당진의 로 치지 로 인배 도야기 리유 신중아서 당진의 유 다도 주바디 현라라 말려버 주밤 다도 주바디 나도 주바디 가야 돼 아니 돈이 도비 동바 사무 동바니 도비 셔럽기 가바 인장 돈이 도비 셔럽 로 치지 말로바 다도 준비 로데로 치지 로 치지 말로 빌로데 관배 안에 당진데 안에 가서 소래 지중도 치디 안에 타르 당진 사바지 온 거래.
So to realize that the apprehended object of this in apprehending ignorance, grasping a true existence, that this object does not exist at all. That the object of this ignorance, grasping a true existence, its object, whatever object it apprehends, that does not exist at all. This object which appears to exist without any kind of dependence, independently on its own. Such an object does not exist at all. So to realize that this object of the mind of ignorance does not exist at all. There is no such object which is autonomous, non-dependent. And so to be able to refute or negate the existence of such an object, then you need that kind of wisdom realizing emptiness. Because this profound view of emptiness is a totally unmistaken view, whereas the view of the ignorance grasping at true existence is a completely mistaken viewpoint. So as one becomes more and more familiar with this unmistaken view of the emptiness, then it gradually kind of diminishes the mistaken view of the ignorance grasping at true existence. That becomes less and less.
다 군중 본에서 통하나 되니 두 군중 가서 군중 본에서 통한 지세나 다 육군중 대기 깨박이 아니 대우 동아태야 과바 동아 가비 과바 동아 빵바게 과바 줄라 아니 리바 차바 토바 차바.
So when one sees that one has the capacity for abandoning the true cause of suffering, the true origin, then one can see that that one can attain the cessation of suffering.
당장 말로 니몽 가지 잠바 레 니몽지 왕기 레 사소하면아리 나르사비 레디나양 시비시라 난감지 레신 편님만 지지 현지 제바 세치로 세가라 게 니몽 세와 인상 레가마게 풍부 편지기 레지나양 레드도 편두고 말이 와.
So in order to bring a cessation to these ordinary suffering aggregates, then one has to get rid of this ignorance grasping at true existence. Because in getting rid of this ignorance, then one gets rid of the new accumulation of karma. And even if one may still have past karmic accumulations, but because one doesn't have the supportive conditions of these afflicted states of mind, these karmas that are still remaining cannot effect a result because it lacks the conditions of the afflictions.
마르바텔라 녀보 덤대요 인상 루사거래 타마윈 남이지 풍보 세비 르기 요아디 아니 남이지 풍보 되게 유르텔라 녀보 덤대 인상 유르데 녀보 돈용무슨 더베 람된 되게 좀디 잠바 두 마르발로디 잠바 아니 남이지 풍보데 라토가래 사바 라.
So these the fact that we can, exhaust or bring to extinction these ordinary aggregates is because within our continuum, then one is capable of generating powerful antidotes. By generating these powerful antidotes, antidotes towards this ignorance grasping true existence within our continuum, then one can sort of exhaust the continuity of these ordinary aggregates.
인산대 오바줄래 리바 차신 고방원도 전유스 통화나스 아니 참아지 풍보세비도 고방원도 전유스 통화나 대신도 대원도 제방 남 아니 유 당전되게 녀보람 남담은 무슨 더베 남된텔라 되와 인상 대신도 대원도 제방야 남양단 양도 유라 땜버 차신 콤버 차와 통네 대단 염소 라베 타르 아니 람덴텔라 때네 타마지 남이지 풍보 세비 아니 세밤 타반양을 대와도 토바치기래.
So when one understands that cessation of suffering is possible, then one wishes to attain that, and in order to attain that, then one relies upon the path by which one can attain this result, the path by which one can get rid of the ignorance grasping at true existence through employing the path of the wisdom realizing selflessness, and by meditating upon such a path over and over and over again, through relying upon it, through meditating on it, through such practices, then eventually one can get rid of these ordinary aggregates, these ordinary aggregates that that are the that are the ripening result of the past, afflictions and its action karma. So one can sort of totally sever the continuation of such ordinary contaminated agis, and actualize the state of liberation.
Oh yeah, that thing.
So in order to attain, therefore, in order to attain liberation, then meditating on the reality of the Four Noble Truths. So having the understanding of the Four Noble Truths is very important. The Four Noble Truths make up the main framework of the Buddha's teachings, and so therefore for us to have the understanding, for us to take the opportunity to study it well is important. Without this understanding of the Four Noble Truths, then it will be difficult to generate the mind of renunciation, the wish to renounce samsaric existence.
Oh yeah, that is Chintanim. That Usunduji Chile somebody in Jiribaja, Chile somebody based on the Dambala. Sabi Drugutang. Sunga Chile, Sabi Drugutang.
So I think we just.
Sunga Chile to the Dambatang. Sabi Gudan Sunga Chile to the Dambatang. You may be to the Chile to Damba. Yes.
Nimekari.
Sambagi, Druegi, Gudan Sunga Chile to Damba. You may beg to the Chile to the Damba.
So I think we finished verse 55. The illness is to be cognized, its cause removed, the state of happiness attained, and the remedy used. Like that, phenomenal life, its cause, extension, and the path are to be cognized, removed, realized, and resorted to. So then the next part is the activities of the holy body, speech, and mind of the Buddha. So the Brahma is an example for illustrating the activities of the Buddha's holy body and holy speech, and the sun is an illustration for the activities of the Buddha's holy mind.
Besambatela, Zambola Tamjawa, the Tenshaba, Tenshaba, Gudasunga Chile, Bebamabachi, Bedentang, Duja Kanshiki, Sambe, more Rishi Nubari to be true. That is Delayan, Tambo Delayan, Duja Jutabala Chile to be Bedentang, Teleshambala Joy Bedenta, Chile to be true.
Tambo de Beba Mebata, Kesum.
Tambo Della. So
the first point is the activities of the holy body and speech and mind that engages sentient beings without any kind of effort, spontaneously, and that being presented by illustration and its corresponding meaning. And Nibati. And then how these activities of the Buddhist, activities of the holy body, speech, and mind are not, does not appear in the face of some disciples. How some of disciples then are not able to be the recipient of or not able to perceive these activities.
That Tambo Delaya Sumi Yebina, that Tambo 담보 대리샤 진방지 통그로 와 내려라 뭐 누자 뒤도 봐라 칠레주 빼된데라 빼단 된이 제리
So then the first point has three outlines to it. First outline is that how those with pure karma are the recipient of the Buddha's activities, how Buddha's activities engage sentient beings with pure karma.
that's 기타 참바 이내내 포와 메신도 사이내나 탐제도 나와 밤에 담바 따르
So the root text is as Brahma, without moving from his abode in all the regions of the gods, demonstrates his apparition without effort.
참바 첨부 참바기 내내 참비 내디 삼대 참보니 와리 그봐 삼대 참보라 참바 내 숨체리 가나 창리 참바 되는데 창전 체니 내 숨고나 삼대 참보체 이라 기타 참바 첨부이 참비 내내 참바 첨부 참비 내내 포함 메신도 대배 사이 내 탐제도 아니 차바단자와 주위치도 나와 배바메바 담바 따로 스테베체 아니 이네
So just as the great Brahma, then while remaining in his own abode, his abode is said to be the first of the in the first level of the meditative state of absorption, first level, and within that there are three different levels. Within the first level, there are three different levels of the Brahma's abode. So, in that first level of the meditative state, of absorption, which is said to be the abode of the Brahma. So, without moving from this state, then this Brahma emanates out, apparitions of himself in all of the Deva realms. In all the Deva fields of the desire realm, in order to free the Devas from attachment.
So
this example. In a similar way, in all the regions of the world, the Lord Buddha, though motionless in his Dharmakaya, shows himself in apparitional forms without effort to those that are worthy.
차주용 원이구나 자 들어와 추구 세대 라세남다 차주용 원이구나 대신 두바 대신이라 냠샤를 요하며 봐 뒤다도 냠바 샤비 아니 냠샤이 시그 추구들에 요하며 봐면 껴봐 매봐 아니 지된지 감꾼도 누자라랑 그 까와다 참바기 아니 주와주네 매봐 아니 최대바 잡아래 So, like this example, then the Buddha, from within the sphere of the Dharmakaya, from that sphere of the suchness of natural purity, the Swabhavakaya, from within that state of such an equipoise, never being removed from that state of equipoise, always remaining in that state of equipoise of Dharmakaya, then appears in the world systems in accordance with the disciples' predisposition and aspiration, then emanates out a variety of emanations to those that have the karmic fortune. 냠샤 텔라 당데 아니 제 당데 아니 제도 그 차와 채와 마도 냠지 렌조면도 아니 냠시 오지 냠지 오지 바 마체 Sanje Vinega, so Yamshala, Matapa, Jedoki Chava, Juba in that, Yamjong Mochi, Sangwade.
So everyone below the 10th bodhisattva level, 10th and the 10th level and everything below it, all experience, equipoise and post-equipoise alternatively. There is no simultaneous experience of equipoise and post-equipoise being of one nature. So that is an experience only in the state of perfect Buddhahood.
That really, they change any better new change any. That you what Teleshamba joy better setting, Teleshamba joy better setting, but tell a better 20 years. That's one.
Yes.
Oh, that did our della. Chita Sanda Shaya Kana Mio Dangam Shua Day. Any Lanam Gini Tonde Lanam Gidong Tedon Tea, Yula Gawa Ponchetar, that better.
So then again, the other illustration and the meaning of the meaning of that illustration is verse 58. Just as Brahma, never moving from his abode, manifests himself in the world of desire, is seen by the gods, and this perception pacifies the desires of the objects of enjoyment.
Chita Chanda Shaya Kang, Sigala, Chita Samba Titado, and the Rangi Shaya Kala, Mio Shindu, Shaya Kala Midosa, Randan Dravi, and the Chamba Shanshi June. And it Sumjasumla, so that Dungam Sayinado, Shuate, Lanamji Tonsing, Hadamji, and the Samba de Tommy, Lanamla, Casa Debi Nimi Shebe. Debi Nimi Shebe, Debi Hatiang, Yula Gavi Seba Ponchido, Sita, Yula Gavi Seba Ponchabatar, Berche.
So the
don't think Yula Gawa Ponchetar.
So Brahma, while remaining in his own celestial mansion, then emanates out replicas of himself into all of these Deva realms of the Deva realms of the territory. Within the desire realm, there are these 6 Deva realms. So in the realm of territory, then he emanates out replicas of himself, and the other devas are all able to see these emanations of Brahma, and these emanations of the Brahma, what they do is teach on the shortcomings of the mind of desire, and in doing so then the other devas come to abandon that mind of craving desire.
Setumala Sawa, Sojabada, Majimbalambala Sawaki, and the Tindigni, the Shebe, Lateda, Gadan, Latian, Utela, Gavi Sabapon, Chabata, Teche.
So, by teaching on, what are the consequences of the acts of killing that, kind of causing short life, and by explaining the consequences of acts of stealing and so forth, then, through such a course of teachings, then they come to abandon any sort of desire for enjoyments gotten through such acts.
That you turn there, teaching toward teaching the Shijukule, music, Jidan, Kamgundu, Gandan Chidom, Tedon Tea, Datu Chumakun Seche. So then you have the corresponding meaning, which is the root text. Similarly, the Lord, though motionless in his Dhammakaya, is seen by the worthy in all the regions of the world, and this his vision removes forever all defilement. 주방 대시 숨 대시 세상한 남들 가라 손전 나시 가라 도바 대시 방바 대시 전에 순과를 그러나 방바 대시에 가나 명비 주바 방바 말리바 방바 라르미데 미게바 방바 인장 방바 대시 숨대 세
So similarly, the Lord here in the Tibetan is the Tathagata, the one gone to bliss, and gone to bliss, gone to the bliss of realizations, gone to the bliss of abandonments, and gone to the bliss of abandonments, meaning having abandoned all afflictions, without exception, having abandoned afflictions to the degree where it will never arise again, is what is meant by having gone to the state of bliss in the way of abandonments.
That chemba, maluba chemba temba, sina toba deshi sumde.
And then gone to the state of bliss of realizations means having the knowledge, knowing everything without exception, and that knowledge being very firm and stable.
직대 군도 감숨지 직대 군도 아래 산제지 수주 구대 간단지 가와다 되면 되자 남지 통라 대라양 대양 안에 대신심이 탐제 때문에 담비체 롱도지 도배 롱도지 탐제 롱기 탐제다 도배 탐제 때문에 대냠수 땅바 나도 정말 그 세월의 체질 타바다 탐제 집에 고마 타바 체도 정말 세는 영문 버티바다 CCTV 정말 세와 체질 타바 탐제 집에 고마 타바 체도.
And so, similarly, then the Lord Tathagata, never removed from that state of the Dhammakaya, then emanates out emanations in all the three realms of existence, these rupakayas, these form bodies that the fortunate sentient beings are actually able to see and directly receive the teachings of the pure Dharma, the Dharma of scriptures and insight, and by their engaging in the practices of it are able to clear away all of the defilements, eliminate all of the defilements of the of the two obscurations, the obscuration of afflictions and obscuration to knowledge, and thereby attain liberation and enlightenment.
Oh yeah, that is
the causes that allow for the for the engagement of the Buddha activities, allow us to receive the the causes that allow us to receive the activities of the Buddhas engage.
Oh, that chilajubi jutela, ani kasore, chilajubi jutela, monjirani malamdang, sanamjini geweti. So,
verse 59, as owing to the vows of Brahma himself, his vision is perceived without effort, so is the apparitional form of the Buddha, which becomes originated by itself.
원지라니 mellam당 세가라 상배 사랑아마기 원지라니게 mellam다와당 아니 대배산남지 mellam태당 아니 대배산남지장 개와기 티 아니 가소래 지다 상바 배바매바 나신 아니 대달라 최담바달.
So what are the causal factors for the other devas to see the form, the emanated form of the Brahma is because Brahma himself made special prayers, because of Brahma's own special prayers of the past, and because of the other devas, their prayers because of their prayers and because of their past karmic virtue, then they get to have that experience of seeing Brahma's form and receiving those instructions of the teachings.
Dujala nane chue tempa tiang, asanje jingmoji molam tang, duja namji jang ani gyu tabak, sanja ngusu jaya ki ledri tera tabi tule chungwa te. Ta te peti nimu chungwa imbari, tangsir, ha?
So is the apparitional form of the Buddha, which becomes originated by itself. These referring to the self-arisen Buddha, meaning referring to the solitary realizers, who, without having to rely upon the instructions of others or other teachers, then in their last life are able to actualize enlightenment without relying upon someone else. So it's originated by itself, referring to the practical Buddhists. So that, and then the supreme emanations of the Buddhas that sentient beings are able to see, those sentiments that are able to, for these emanations, for the Buddhas to occur, is due to the prayers of the Buddha in the past, and due to the prayers of the sentient beings who are able to see it, and due to their virtue. These are the causal factors that allow for being able to see the emanations of the Buddhas and receive the teachings. The prayers that are made on the part of the Buddha, on the part of the disciples who see it, and their virtuous karma.
Oh yeah, that's it. Duja gashi ki sambe ngo rishi nubar chubi suten sedeta jaba chunyi tenda de mahasung wembade.
So and then the third outline, which is how some of these deeds of the Buddha, activities of the Buddha, are not seen by some sentient beings or by some disciples.
Na dili jao podan humju tamda yabji kashe tang se tambo jaba tambo bande jinena poatang.
So the first activity of descending from the Tushita heaven, and then entering into the womb of the mother, and then and being born in the garden of Lumbini. And an arrival at his father's palace in the region of Sakya. In the life of enjoyment in amongst the noble women. And going to a place of solitude, and then engaging in the ascetic forms of practices. And going to the Bodhi tree and vanquishing the Mara demons. And then so in the middle of the night, vanquishing the Mara demons, and at the break of dawn, attaining the enlightenment.
장주 전에 시위 정도 남된탕 세가라 다 장주 쇼도 좀我做上家的钱시위创建지 남된바 서 취지 걸어 거 같아 말하는 수 취지 걸어 거 잡아대
and and teaching the path of the Dharma that leads to the city of peace, meaning that turning the wheel of the Dharma.
Then tuwa kame shiki kame miki lammi juru ekala o tatini kawa tammi tembi ro shiji kola jaba tene tuwa reshi tuja kawa miki lamdu mijuwa anyangala de sutama jabare.
And then for those without the karmic fortune, then for those without the karmic fortune, then some of them are not able to see any of these deeds of the Buddha, and then without having seen any of these activities of the Buddha, then then you have the Buddha passing away into the state of nirvana.
윤전 되나 나한테 가서래 잡아지 숨쉬시와 양아랜데 수tempa 잡아 마도 아니 되나 땜베 꾸다 송게 칠레 세바 미시베 칠레 귀미 세바 칠레 세바 미시베 라니 산제 제수 참발라 소와 아니 산제 그 연된 체니 아니 산제 무슨도 자와 그 아니 귤라라고 그래 송근지를 다
So all of these deeds of the Buddha, from descending from to the heavens and up to passing away, these are just a display of the deeds. On the part of the enlightened ones, the Buddhas, their activities of the holy body, speech, and mind is continuously happening. These activities, there's no extinction to those activities, there's no exhaustion of those activities. Those activities are taking place continuously, and these 12 deeds are just display of these deeds. But reality is that Buddha's activities, without extinction, occur continuously, and so by remembering all of these qualities of the Buddhas, by remembering the Buddha in such a manner, then that is the way we accumulate the causes to be able to directly see the Buddha. So then it says, you should work on accumulating the karma that allows for the merit to be able to see the Buddha, and that is through constant recollection of the Buddha is how one accumulates the merit to eventually directly perceive the Buddha.
Yeah, that 되게 참비 주변에 꾸다 송거 칠레 천지 담바 신선이 님의 투지 칠레 천지 담바
This completes the section on how the Brahma is used as an illustration for the activities of the Buddha's holy body and holy speech, and then the next is how the sun is an illustration for the Buddha's holy mind activities. So this has the outline of the teachings and the explanations.
Then tuwa kame miki lammi juru statin ma che kana chita nime duwi tuji tsenyi la peso jeda kumu tani rasumba chuji cheta sumbi yuanden gyenda la nima tome dini pabi niti shing.
Verse 61, warmed by the sun at one and the same time the lotus flower expands and the kumuda folds its leaves, but the sun, it has no searching thought about the qualities and the defects of the water-borne flowers as they open and fold. Similar to that is the saint in his acts, is the Buddha in his acts.
지단님이 유지 아니 동배 뒤지기 체 니라 아니 빼마서 예와탕 라 양 니만 꾸미다니 가슴바 가랍도 숨바 쳐봐
So just as the warmth of the rays of the sun causes, the lotus flowers to open up and the kumuda flowers to sort of close.
인자 빼마 카체바당 꾸미다 가슴비 뛰어다라 니말라 아니 빼마 카체당 꾸미다 가슴바 쳐봐 니말라 대달 차오냐 봐 그나마 또봐 매야 말해 나마 또봐 매바래.
So the sun does not have any specific intention or concept to make the lotuses open and the kumuda flowers to shut.
니마 매야 인다 연대 뛰어다라 니마 또메 티니 세대리 말해.
So that is what is being referred to. The sun, it has no searching thought, no concept.
다 산제기 두자라 칠레제베 갑디니 양 아니 산제 밥이 송기 님이 여장 아니 두지 팬이라 나바 또바 준세자 매바 베티신세.
So like this example, in the Buddha's activities of benefiting sentient beings, when the rays of the sun of Buddha's holy speech engages sentient beings, it is without that kind of concept.
꿀롱 나바 또바 요아르 마도 두자라 팬바 차오냐 비쌈바 용구르와 남도 요 말레스 나바 또바 베소니.
So it is without these kind of superstitious, concept. But of course, you do have the motivation to benefit sentient beings. You do have that motivation to benefit, but not the concept of it. So that's the brief teaching. So then the next stanzas talk about, how the qualities of the Buddha then far exceeds the example or illustration of the sun, the way in which it engages. So verse 62, free from any searching thought, the sun expanding its light simultaneously everywhere makes the lotus flower unfold its leaves and causes to ripen other kinds of plants.
아니 배마 제와를 차오 냠바게 나바 또바 매바 아니 랑그 아니 직접 저와이 아니 배마 제와를 쳐바당 현양 아니 로도 현다 민발 쳐바당 아니 꿈이다 가슴바 쳐바래
So
나바 또바 매장
when the rays of the sun shines everywhere, then it causes all these things to happen in the blossoming of the lotus flowers, the ripening of the harvest, the closing of the closing of the kumuda flower. It does all of these different things, but on the part of the sun, it has no sort of concept to do all these.
나 대신 해봐이 니마 탐주여서 다 도시 지오 빼마라 나바 또바메 봐주.
Similar is the sun, which is the Buddha, with its rays, the highest of doctrine, free from a searching thought. They are directed upon the converts, resembling lotus flowers.
대신 해봐기 송기 니마 아니 롱게 담비 쳐지. 是吧?送给你们龙给他们切记是他你去给我了你去给别人了别做了说别那么多我没吧他别嘛的别人别做了说话跟那么多吧没吧就把的
So similarly, then you have the rays of the sun of the Buddha's holy speech, which is the explanation of the scriptural teachings of the scriptural teachings of the Buddha. Then the rays of the sun of the holy speech of the Buddha then engages the sentient beings without any kind of effort and without any kind of concept. So then the example of like the sun, then how it illuminates the darkness of ignorance. So the root text is arising in the heavens of enlightenment are the Dhammakaya and the Rupakaya forms. The sun of omniscience casts the rays of divine wisdom over all living beings. So likewise the Tathagata, then emanating with its emanations of the truth body and the form body, the rupa, the truth body, which is the Dhammakaya, transcendent wisdom Dhammakaya, and then you have the Dhammakaya of abandonments, which is the Swabhavakaya, holy body, and the Rupakaya is the form bodies, referring to the Sambhopakaya and Nirmanakaya, the body of enjoyments and emanations. So with these then they radiate out the sun of the holy speech. The rays of the sun of the holy speech from within this from the sphere of that essence of enlightenment, then emanating out that light of the transcendental wisdom. And just like the ordinary sun, how it ripens all the harvests, in the same manner, the Buddha's light of the transcendental wisdom then ripens the minds of all sentient beings, and liberates them from their defilements.
Oh yeah, that is what you tend to say. That is Jesus Cheba said that. No, Jesus Cheba said.
So that's the meaning of the example, and then the application, the explanation in the context of the types of receptacles or the vessels.
kanji doja tabayi chi yunye tamjala deshi nimi sunyanxin bado meba juja char.
65. Indeed, in the minds of all the converse, there are like receptacles of purest water, the innumerable reflections of that sun, which is the Lord, simultaneously appear. So in pure, in pure waters, where in this world, wherever there are like receptacles of pure waters, then you have the reflection of the moon. It means reflection of the Buddha's holy body, reflection of the moon simultaneously in the clear, pure waters of all lakes or of all containers, and those reflections appear simultaneously.
So
just like in a Guru Puja, where you have this particular verse. So it's the verse which says, "You who are the source of goodness, bliss, and perfection, of root and lineage gurus, yidams, 3 jewels of refuge, viradakinis, dhammapalas, and protectors with entourage, and of the 3 times, by the power of compassion, come forth and abide steadfast." So the illustration and the meaning of the illustration with regards to how it descends on the receptacles accordingly. Being always all-pervading in the sphere of the absolute, infinite-like space, the Son of the Buddha casts its rays on the converse as if they were mountains in accordance with their merit. So, sentient beings have 3 different types of accumulations or culminations. Those that have the ascertainment of what is perfect, those that do not have that ascertainment, and who have a wrong ascertainment.
Oh yeah.
So we'll stop here for this morning. Guru Ratna Mandala Kamya Daya